everybody. Welcome to Zoom at 8. My name is Julianne Peterson, and I am your host tonight. And every Tuesday night, I am a senior director at Old Capital Lending, and we are specialists. We are mortgage brokers in multifamily. Now, we will go outside of multifamily. If you're looking at industrial or retail or storage, mobile home parks, I can help you with that too. But we really do most of our business. Well, we've closed 1.2 billion last year, 6,000 loans in our tenure. And so we really are about execution certainty. And if it's going to take you 2 years from today to get into a loan, you got to make sure. I got a phone call last night, no kidding, at 9:30 p.m. Their bank said, you know what? Not going to do it. We're going to leave you at the altar. So they had money, hard money sitting in a escrow, and they may lose it. So you want to make sure that your lender, who is one of your biggest partners in the deal, we bring 75 to 80, is a good fit for you. So I'm hoping I can help you. You certainly can run by any opportunities you have with a T12 or rent roll. 80% of our business right now is in bridge, short-term loans. So you got to figure out, hey, what's going to happen after the 3 years? What kind of lending am I going to get? Because that's really, if you're going to sell it, that's fine. But who knows what's going to happen with the interest rates over the next year, 2 years, 3 years. So be really considering what's the takeout. We are a little bit behind, and I want to get to tonight's speaker, Yakov Smart. He is with us. I got introduced to him because, we started talking about LinkedIn and how to utilize LinkedIn. Do I want to pay $40 every month to see who's snooping around my profile? I'm not sure that's important to me. But I found Yakov and wanted to have him with you to understand, hey, how he can help you. So Yakov Smart is considered to be the leading expert when it comes to attracting high net worth investors and raising capital using LinkedIn. I mean, it is a powerful tool. He's the author of Disrupting LinkedIn. Write that down. Author of Disrupting LinkedIn, and is sought after authority by top business owners and sales leaders worldwide. In fact, Yakov has shared the stage with Samantha DiBiase, maybe, of Bravo's hit TV show $1 Million Listing, and been a guest on numerous media outlets. He is a resident of Scottsdale, Arizona. Today, Yakov is a proud leader of Linked Lead Enterprises. So that's his company that he is the proud leader of, where his webinars, on-demand training programs, and strategic consulting accelerators give people proven tools and techniques for transforming their LinkedIn profiles into priceless, listen to this, capital raising assets. Who'd ever know that you could get it done on social media? Just finding people and putting your information in your LinkedIn profile. So I am super excited that Yakov is here tonight. Let's make sure that we give him our 100% focus. If you would go to the right-hand side, I think it's this way. And there's 6 little dots, 9 little dots. Go to speaker. And now we've got Rodolfo, but we're going to see here shortly, Yakov Smart. Yakov, are you with us? I don't see you. There you are. Oh my goodness. How are you tonight?
I'm amazing. Happy to be here. Happy to see so many smiling faces. I was listening to some of the intros earlier. Got some good vibes tonight.
Hey, this is where it happens every Tuesday night. And we won't kick you out. You can come here every Tuesday night as well. All right? You are welcome, of course. Now listen, I gotta know how you can help us. I hear that you are the expert. So I gotta know, what is it that you're doing that I need to know how to increase my net worth, increase my media presence on LinkedIn. I'm giving you the chance.
Cool. Well, obviously I've got a lot to share. I'm gonna go for about 45 minutes here tonight, right? That's
All
what
right.
we were planning for. Perfect.
You got it.
And as we get started, I want to ask the folks here before I share my screen, I want to ask you a couple of questions, just kind of get a feel for the room, know where people are at. So in the chat, let me know what your experience capital raising has been. So, in the chat, let me know if you've raised capital before and maybe how much private money you've raised in the past 12 months. So drop that in the chat. I just want to understand, people's experience. Cool. Joel's raised 4 million, so pretty experienced. Candace has raised 2 million. Melissa has raised 500K. Awesome. Who else? 2 million. Rodolfo 000. So he's just getting started. Hey, got to start somewhere. Awesome. Bobby 750K. Very cool. Nathan 150K. Awesome. So yeah, a lot of folks, this is really cool. So a lot of folks have already raised some private money. Some folks are just getting started. So what you're going to find is what we talk about today. You can apply it no matter where you're at in your capital raising journey, whether you've raised 4 million or 0 million or anywhere in between. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to put a link in the chat box, and you're going to see it on my screen here in a moment. We actually put together a notes handout that you can fill in as we go through the presentation. So what you're going to do, and you're going to see me share my screen here in a moment, and we're going to jump right into the slideshow. So the URL, and I'm going to give you a moment to do this right now, linkedleads.us/old cap notes. So we put together a special URL for being part of the group. You're going to go there right now, just enter your name and email, and we'll send you a notes sheet so you can follow along. Okay, that's linkedleads.us/old cap notes. Might as well do that. It'll give you a good framework for taking notes and getting some of the highlights that you're going to take away tonight. So with that being said, let's jump right in, and we're going to talk about attracting more of the investors you're looking for. We're going to talk about attracting passive investors tonight, so you can stop scrambling to raise capital and you can put yourself in a position to fund your deals with greater ease. Okay, so what you'll discover today, and great introduction, like she was saying, we're going to talk about a way of finding the investors you're looking for, finding high net worth investors, building those relationships with potential investors beyond your current network by tapping into my proprietary method of using LinkedIn. And I'm going to show you how to start to do this in an automated way where you can implement this in 20 minutes a day or less. Okay. And since you're here, obviously we want to make sure you're in the right place. So like I said, this is for you, no matter where you're at in your capital raising journey, no matter how much money you've raised, no matter what type of deals you're going to be raising money for, this system can apply. Okay. And what I see a lot of people doing in this space is they'll go and they'll do their first raise and they're scrambling to raise capital, and sometimes they miss out on deals. Okay. And one thing, if you haven't heard this before, and what this system really allows you to do is start building and constantly adding to your list of deal ready investors before you have the deal. So you may be saying to yourself, hey, I don't have a deal closing the next 30 days. Is this for me? Well, absolutely, because the time to start building that list of potential investors is right now. Okay. So this is also for you if you want to stop missing out on potential deals, stop worrying about where to find investors beyond your warm network. Maybe you don't know a lot of accredited investors or high net worth individuals. And when a lot of people come to us, they'll say, hey, I knew a lot of accredited investors. The problem is they're kind of tapped out. We've done several deals over the past 2 years. So this is a way to continue to expand that network for you and start to feel like you're in control of raising more money. Because let's face it, not having the ability to find the investors you're looking for, to find investors on demand, severely limits your ability to scale and grow. It adds a ton of stress, and it takes away time from an already busy day. And that means your vision for real estate investing, doing more deals, growing, scaling, becomes that much harder to reach. Okay. So that's what we're talking about today is so important. And as you'll see, LinkedIn is the vehicle, right? So this isn't a tech presentation. We're not getting into the weeds of what buttons to press. What's more important for us to talk about today is the strategy and the tactics, and to give you a great overview of the system you're going to need to start to attract more of the investors you're looking for using LinkedIn. And I'm actually going to go off video here. I'll hop back on video for questions. I like to be off video so you can just take a look at the screen when I talk and hear the sound of my voice, and I'll jump back on video a little later for questions. So when you implement what I'll be sharing, you're going to have the ability to find the ideal investors you want to get in front of, increase your online visibility by 50% or more, grow your investor list using a proven system without SEO, without posting a bunch of content, without having to spend all day on social media, okay? And have high net worth investors responding to you so you can raise more capital and fund your deals. Now, at this point, you may be thinking, who is Jaakko Smart? Why should I listen to what he has to say? So very quickly, let me give you a quick intro. I'm not one of those people that's going to ramble about my story for 15 minutes. There's plenty of information you can find online. Say a couple things though. Author, speaker, investor, marketing expert. We only work with people who want to raise private money. Very good specifically in this space. You may have heard me on some of the leading real estate investing podcasts. I've been fortunate enough to collaborate with some of the biggest names in the space. Some of you actually here, I think we have Rhea, Vinky, some of you guys already know me, you've heard me present, so it's going to be a nice refresher. So it's really, really cool to kind of see your names and faces. And personally, I've generated thousands of leads using the system on autopilot without spending a dime on ads. And as a result, I think today the number is somewhere around 30 million in private capital has been raised as a result of my system between our various clients and students. So that said, there's the book, Disrupting LinkedIn, the definitive guide to generating leads, receiving referrals, attracting high-end clients. That's kind of how I got my start in the LinkedIn marketing space. And I've been part of this world since 2016. So I call myself one of the OGs in the space, right, of online lead generation, especially when it comes to attracting high net worth investors. This is a picture of me. I want to be really, really clear. What we're talking about today, it's not about getting likes, comments, followers. This is about actually generating leads, attracting investors, building relationships that lead to you raising more money, okay? Now, that said, let's start to get into some of the recent changes happening to LinkedIn or that have been happening on LinkedIn over the past couple of years. So the first change is this next generation of LinkedIn audience. So what does that mean? Okay. So right now, this number is actually more like 750 million active users on LinkedIn. There's 130 million plus accounts here in the US alone. Average household income, this is where it starts to get really good. The average household income on LinkedIn, $115,000. Okay. So the people on LinkedIn who have money to invest, the people you're looking for to be passive investors, they're absolutely on LinkedIn. Fastest growing age group. You've got young professionals, entrepreneurs, 25 to 35-year-olds. Microsoft, some of you may know, some of you may not, purchased LinkedIn for $26.2 billion a couple years ago. So they've completely revamped the platform to become a much more social platform where people are there to learn, build relationships, and grow. And a lot of you probably know this, business people who are there to build real relationships are getting tired of Facebook. They're getting tired of the drama, the cat videos, all that kind of stuff. And they're turning to LinkedIn as their social networking platform of choice. So it creates a massive opportunity for you. And we'll talk about list building a little later. I want to go through some of the various examples. We got some screenshots. So for example, this list right here, 28,000 plus tech founders in the state of California alone, okay? This is a list you can build on LinkedIn when you know how to do this, literally within a matter of minutes, okay? So rather than the old way of doing it where you would go and buy a list of accredited investors for, let's say, 5K or 10K, and by the time you get that list, the data is usually outdated, you can pull and source this list on LinkedIn in real time based on up to the minute data within a matter of minutes, okay? Another list, dentists. So some of you may want dentists to passively invest with you. This is just I think in the Southeast region, small dental practice owners, 14,000 plus. Again, you can pull that data and target these people directly using LinkedIn. Attorneys, this is just in the state of Florida, 16,000 plus owners of small law practices in the state of Florida alone, right? So you start to see the possibilities for targeting and building relationships with potential investors using LinkedIn, okay? The next surprising change is the increased exposure of your LinkedIn profile and business pages. So what does that mean? So I want you to think about this and really understand what I'm about to share with you. Other than your website, your LinkedIn profile right now is your most important online asset. Now, why is that? Because when someone goes to Google your name, no matter how much time you've spent on LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile is going to be one of the first things that pops up. So it's really important to make it count. It's really important to have a strong first impression on LinkedIn that adds to your visibility and your credibility, okay? Same goes with LinkedIn business pages. So a lot of you may have a business page on Facebook or a fan page. It's really important to have that on LinkedIn as well because you get a lot more reach, a lot more visibility, and it's great for the SEO for your website, right? It's great for increasing your online visibility because LinkedIn has really put an emphasis on profiles and business pages, okay? And the third surprising change is this emergence of LinkedIn video and personality driven content. Okay, polls are really big on LinkedIn right now. And content that's driven by personality used to be kind of a stuffy resume platform where people would go, just to kind of be there. Well, now there's a lot more conversation. I think in 2020 and 2021, conversations were up by 50% on LinkedIn, just across the platform, people engaging, people talking, sharing, posting more content, tuning in. It's really become the preferred social media for high net worth individuals because there's a lot less BS, a lot less noise out there, right? So these surprising changes, along with it being what I consider the golden age of alternative investing, create a perfect combination for you to go on LinkedIn and build these relationships with high net worth individuals. Okay, so let's start to talk about the number one strategy for creating a LinkedIn profile that automatically attracts your ideal investor. Okay, and it starts with a question, right? It starts with asking yourself this question. It's really, really important to think about this. What would my perfect investor think? Okay, so everything we do, any marketing that we talk about on LinkedIn, we want to always put ourselves in the shoes of our potential investor, right? And always start to understand their perspective, okay? Now, the problem is this, and this is the disconnect that a lot of real estate entrepreneurs face, even those who are trying to use LinkedIn to build investor relationships, right? This is where a lot of people start to go wrong, is you have to understand you are a nobody online, okay? They don't trust you. They don't know you from Tom. They know nothing about you. They may not even know anything about what passive investing means. And if you're going there, directly pitching them, soliciting, first of all, it's illegal in a lot of cases. Second of all, it's just a strategy that plain flat out doesn't work and is doomed to fail because they don't trust you. Okay, so it's important to start there and start with where they're at. So let's start to think about the psychology of someone who would be a perfect passive investor for you. Okay, so understand these high net worth individuals on LinkedIn, they're hearing about the quote unquote next big thing all the time. Okay, everyone's saying crypto is the next big thing, or this other thing, or this other, start all these investing opportunities. People know they have money. They're hearing about the next big thing all the time. Sometimes they feel like everyone seems to want something from them, right? Again, people think they have money. Now people are asking them for money. They're asking them to look at, these different opportunities. So they often get bombarded. And these people didn't become affluent by being careless with their money, right? So a lot of people who come to us are like, hey, if someone's net worth is $50 million, it should be easy for them to cut me a check for 500K, right? It's like, well, you know what? They didn't have money by being careless with their money. Obviously, they're going to do their due diligence, but they want to be educated, okay? And they've probably been burned before, okay? They've probably been screwed before. People have probably overpromised and underdelivered before, so there's going to be that innate skepticism, which is actually a great thing for you. Now, why is that? Because these high net worth individuals, they also want to be educated, right? There's a natural curiosity to find great deals and great opportunities. They want to tell more of their colleagues and associates about opportunities and deals. So you're going to, when you do this the right way, you're going to start to see more referrals. Word of mouth is going to start working in your favor. And they want more people they can trust. They want to build those true, authentic relationships. Okay. And they want alternative investments for higher returns. I mean, I talked about earlier it being the golden age for alternative investing. You have websites like Yield Street that had record years last year with people going online and investing their money, right? So why is that? Because people are looking at alternative investments. They're looking for higher returns, especially savvy investors, understanding that the stock market, there's been a lot of volatility. There's stuff going on politically. It's really the golden age to showcase alternative investments, and this world is growing, okay? So let's take a look at the methodology, right? Let's start to understand, what is the method for leveraging LinkedIn in this way, okay? And it all starts with your list, okay? It starts with building a hyper-targeted list that's specific based on the types of investors that you want to attract. And I want you to let me know in the chat box, actually. Give me an example. I want you to think about this right now, and I'll give you a couple seconds to do this. Let me know in the chat box someone who might be a perfect passive investor for you, right? So maybe where they live, what they do for a living, and how much you'd like them to invest, right? So maybe someone will say an attorney in Florida, 150K minimum. So just let me give you a second here. Let me know in the chat box an example of someone who might be a perfect investor for you, okay? Let's take a look here. All right, Melissa, engineer, Bay Area, dentist, doctored in Texas, Florida, Julie Tech, healthcare professionals, anyone in California, doctor and attorney in Texas. Okay, cool. Let's see what else. Cool. So we got doctors, we got attorneys, we got engineers. Some people are probably like anyone who has money, right? And that's something that sometimes people will say. And I want to challenge that a little bit, okay? Because when we look at targeting on LinkedIn, we can build these types of lists, and I'm going to give you the 5 ways to build lists here in a moment. But I want you to think about this concept called streams of commonality, right? If you can establish commonality with these potential investors, you're already a step ahead of the game. Okay. It makes everything that much easier. So when we target people on LinkedIn, we teach people how to target people by, yes, you can target by geography, you can target by, where they live, you can target by what their occupation is. But to take it a step further, you can also target by interest, groups that people are a part of, for example. You can target by, things you have in common. So let's say you went to Harvard Business School, they went to Harvard Business School. That's an angle for you. Okay, so this list right here, for example, is 1,000 plus CEOs in the state of Arizona, which is where I live in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area. Again, you can build this list on LinkedIn literally within a matter of minutes. Angel investors, okay, these are people who are private investors, angel investors on LinkedIn, 7,000 plus, who you can access, once again, literally in a matter of minutes. So before we talk about messaging, I want to give you the 5 ways you can build these lists on LinkedIn. Okay, so there's 5 ways to do this. Okay, number 1, there's the free search. There's a tab in LinkedIn. You can just run a free search. You can start with some of the basics, enter a keyword, and start to find people that way. Second way is to search by LinkedIn groups, right? So there's all sorts of groups on LinkedIn around investing, real estate, business, entrepreneurship. There's groups for different associations, professional type of organizations. You can start to find people in these groups, and you can start to add people based in these groups. Third way to do it is, let's say you already went out and you spent some money and you bought a list of potential investors, okay? What you can actually do is you can upload that list into LinkedIn and link up with those people and do that direct upload, okay? So you can match some of that list based, let's say you have that list of accredited investors, there's a way to batch upload it into LinkedIn, okay? Fourth way is through LinkedIn advertising, okay? So the LinkedIn ads platform, for most people, I don't recommend it unless you have more than 10,000 a month that you can comfortably spend through testing. I wouldn't recommend the LinkedIn ads platform, right? There's some pretty solid targeting there, but just there's no reason to run ads on LinkedIn at the moment, because the 5th way is through LinkedIn Sales Navigator, right? So it's a powerful way to do it. You can build hyper-targeted lists. I think there's about 19 different filters, and the real magic is in the overlap of the filters, okay? The real magic is in where the filters start to come together, okay? So those are the 5 ways you can start to build these lists on LinkedIn. So it all starts with your list. And I always tell people, the better your list is, the more targeted it is, the easier everything's going to be, all right? So you can give yourself a massive advantage doing that. Now, let's get into messaging. Let's talk about accelerating trust using your messaging, because this is where I see a big disconnect for a lot of people, right? So there's 3 areas on LinkedIn where you can accelerate trust using your messaging. So on your notes handout, you see where it says 3 areas. The 3 areas are your LinkedIn profile, your LinkedIn content, and direct messages. I'm going to repeat that. So your LinkedIn profile, your LinkedIn content, and direct messages, okay? So let's talk about messaging for your LinkedIn profile. So what does the right profile messaging give you, okay? Number 1, it gives you a strong first impression, okay? You've heard the saying, you don't get a second chance at a first impression. Same is true on LinkedIn, okay? And we're talking about, by the way, about personal profiles here. Number 2, it gives you an increase in visibility. Just having the right keywords, having your profile filled in automatically gives you an increase on visibility across LinkedIn. Third thing it gives you is more social proof, right? You can have recommendations. You have different areas of expertise that you can list, and you can receive those through your profile. And when done right, okay, and your profile is really, really important, it gives you instant authority, it gives you instant credibility, because it's geared towards that potential investor. Okay. Now here's the nuance of this, right? So this is where a lot of people kind of go wrong on LinkedIn profiles. Okay. There's some common mistakes, some common blunders that I see real estate entrepreneurs making. We're going to talk about these 3 categories. The first one is the corporate resume type of profile. This is a profile that's, very well written. Maybe people will even pay a ghostwriter or someone to write it for them. And it sounds very formal to the point where it doesn't sound human, right? And you lose people that way because they don't care, because they don't know what's in it for them, right? So this isn't about having a resume. It's not about listing all your experiences, your whole life story. It's not even about telling your story as much as it is appealing to that potential investor's reality and showing them that you get them. Okay, so the corporate resume is one big mistake that I see a lot of very smart real estate entrepreneurs making. And the issue with that is you lose people's attention, and people aren't paying attention to what's in it for them. And you look like just another person who's posturing or trying to impress, right? So we're not talking about a resume. Also, another mistake that I see is the wide-eyed squirrel. Okay, what does that mean? That's when someone has multiple jobs, multiple businesses listed. They're like, hey, invest in real estate. I also have this business. I also do this business. And it's so scattered that if at first glance, I look at your profile and I can't tell what's in it for me, you've lost me, right? Because it's online, you've got a split second. Now, if you're at a networking event with someone and you start talking to them, unless they're just a complete asshole, they're not just going to run the other way, right? They're going to be polite and listen. Online, they don't have to do that, right? So it's important to be able to get people's attention on your LinkedIn profile and to also show people, hey, what's your unique expertise, right? So one question we get asked is, hey, if I still have a W-2 job, or if I've got another business and I'm transitioning into real estate investing, how should I set up my LinkedIn profile, right? Anyone here in that category? I would assume so, just based on some of the intros that I heard, right? We got some people raising their hands. And the answer to that is, well, it depends, right? So what I recommend is leveraging, let's say, like one of our clients, he had a tech background before he got into real estate investing full time, right? So he's got about 4,000 contacts on LinkedIn in the world of tech sales, and a lot of them have money to invest, right? So, rather than him going and creating a different profile and doing all this other stuff, what I told him to do was like, hey, why not just leverage that network first? So leverage that old experience, right? So use the same profile. And when you're telling the story, when you're building your expertise, you have to showcase how that tech background is an asset for you and how it adds to your unique perspective when it comes to real estate investing, right? There's a lot of people in the space who come from an engineering background, right? So rather than hide that or, try to kind of circumvent past it and just, label, position yourself just as a real estate entrepreneur, leverage that and show people, hey, even if you haven't done a bunch of deals or you don't have a bunch of assets under management, you've got a unique perspective. You've taken the time, you've learned, and you've got that approach. So in most cases, I would say keep the same profile. Now, if your employer's a real stickler, right? If they've got some strict policies, you can always create a separate profile, right? That's always an option. But in most cases, I would say have the same profile and, double down and leverage that. Okay. But what you want to do is make sure that the story is concise, that if I'm a passive investor and I'm looking at your profile, I very quickly and easily can understand what's in it for me. Okay. Third mistake is we call this the 90s marketing brochure. Okay. And this is when someone goes kind of full on, like, hey, we promise the best returns. If you invest with us, you're going to have the best experience. Call this number right now to invest with us. And whenever I see that, first of all, I laugh and I also roll my eyes because these high net worth individuals, again, it's all about trust. They're going to be intelligent. There's going to be some savviness. So we're not talking about just, throwing up a bunch of sales copy and writing a long sales letter. Okay. We're talking about something that builds trust, builds credibility, and inspires action, right? So you want to avoid these three mistakes. And if you take nothing else away today, and we could spend hours talking about profiles, and a little later, I'm going to share a resource with you if you want to get your profile dialed in, the easiest and quickest way to do that. For now, though, understand your profile on LinkedIn is the absolute foundation for attracting the investors you want. Okay. If you take nothing else away, understand that you need to create a profile that's magnetic, meaning it attracts high net worth individuals. It creates empathy. Okay. It creates a level of understanding and it inspires action. Okay. And that profile, unless it's dialed in, it makes everything else that we're talking about that much more difficult. Okay. So the more specific you can be there, the better. Now, talk about content, right? Messaging for content. When we talk about content, we're talking about what you could be posting, for example, right? So I'm a big proponent of smart posting instead of hard posting. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, contrary to what some gurus out there may say, you don't need to be posting 3 to 5 times a day. As a matter of fact, we have students and clients who find a ton of investors on LinkedIn and they're barely posting at all. Okay. I very rarely post on LinkedIn. I'm not crazy about posting on social media. There's a smarter way to do it. Okay. It's not about just posting a bunch, posting and hoping that someone finds you. That's not what we're talking about today. Okay. If you are posting, if you are creating and sharing content, it needs to be congruent with what your potential investors actually care about. So a lot of people in the real estate investing space, they'll start, putting charts up. They'll start getting very analytical data and posting that up. And again, until you have someone's attention, they don't care about that, right? We want to keep things high level. We want to keep things big picture when we're starting out the relationships, okay? And you need to know how to make the algorithm work in your favor. So again, we could do a whole 3-hour seminar on this, but understand just because let's say you have 10,000 connections on LinkedIn and let's say you go to post something, that doesn't mean you're going to get in front of 10,000 people every time. Okay, there's going to be a small percentage of people that see what you post, and basically LinkedIn has this algorithm that's supposed to be super secret for determining what posts get in front of who. Okay, and the more consistent you are with your posts, typically it rewards you with putting you in front of more of the right people. Okay, that's why building that network strategically is really important. So understand, it's not just about, hey, I'm going to go connect with a bunch of people and then when I post, everyone's going to see it. That's just not how it works. Okay. And this is also, we're talking about organic strategy. So we're not talking about paying for advertising. We're not talking about paying, get a post in front of people. We're talking about, understanding the algorithm. Okay. So let's talk about messaging for your messenger funnel. Okay. And this is the most powerful way you can start to build those relationships with potential investors using LinkedIn, is this type of messaging for your messenger funnel. Okay. So there's 3 ways to do it. I'm going to actually show you on the whiteboard here, if we can get this up, and then we'll jump back into the presentation. So what do we mean by LinkedIn Messenger funnel? Okay, so think of it as a multi-step approach, and think of it as a flow chart think of it as taking someone up a ladder. Okay, so we have, first of all, you have the potential investor, and they're on a list on LinkedIn. Okay. And the very first thing you do is build that list. You're targeting that person, okay? The next thing that happens is they receive a connection request, okay? Connection request is kind of like a friend request. They get a connection request asking them to connect, asking them saying, hey, here's who I am. Would you be open to connecting, right? And you can personalize it. You can say something more personal there, but it's a connection request. So the first yes, right? We want to think of it as a ladder. We want to think of it as a series of yeses. So the first yes that you want to get is that someone's open to connecting and joining your LinkedIn network. Now, typically before connecting, a lot of people will go and they'll look at your profile. Okay, so that's why, again, the profile starts to count. It's the core foundation, right? So you got the connection request. When you send a connection request, 1 of 3 things is going to happen, right? Number one, you're going to have some people who accept that connection request. Now they're part of your LinkedIn network. You're going to have some people who don't accept for whatever reason. That's okay. And you're going to have some people who take a little while to accept, or maybe they reply with a personal message, okay? So assuming they've accepted the connection request, okay, the next thing that's gonna happen is we call this message 1, right? So you're gonna send a message, and I'll talk about, there's 3 ways you can give value through your direct messaging. You can send message 1, okay? If they respond to message 1, you're gonna respond to them, send message 2, and usually we'll do message 3, okay? Now, the cool thing about this, why we call this a funnel, is all of this stuff right here, you can automate it 100%. Okay, so using automation software, you can take this, you build the list, this connection request, and message 1, 2, and 3. Using the automation software, you can automate 100% of this. Now, the really important thing, I talk about automation. I share this with people. Automation is kind of like plastic surgery, right? Good plastic surgery, which we have a lot of here in Scottsdale. When you look at someone, you're like, hey, maybe they got some work done, but man, it looks good, right? Bad plastic surgery, if you see someone and the first thing that you think is like, oh man, they had plastic surgery, that's an issue, right? So when you see those automated messages where someone says hi first name in the message, you're like, shoot, they automated that, right? So we don't want to do that. So 100% automated without looking automated. That's the really important thing, okay? So what happens next? So when someone responds, you've got, we call it a raised hand, okay? So this is when someone says, hey, I'm interested, let's talk, or hey, they go and opt into your your thing, your guide. If you've got a funnel like that already, raise hand, and then you've got opt-in, or you've got conversation. Then you've got a call booked. And they're deal ready. Okay, then they're on your investor list. Okay, you've talked about them, you've established the relationship, and then when you have that next deal coming up, you've started building your list. Okay, and the other piece of this that's really important is, how do you give value through the messaging, right? So, talk about, there's 3 ways to do it. And any message you send is going to fall into one of these 3 categories. Okay. And this, again, like I talked about earlier, we want us to make sure that you're staying in SEC compliance. I'm not an SEC attorney. I don't play one on TV. However, you want to make sure that you're not coming out of the gate hot and just saying, hey, I've got this great deal, let's go. Even if you're doing 506C, it's just not a smart thing to do. Okay. So we're developing relationships using this way, and we're doing it in an automated, scalable type of way. So there's 3 ways you can add value, right? Number 1 is through a piece of content, right? So it's one thing to post a piece of content and hope that someone sees it. It's another thing to distribute that in direct, personalized type of message, okay? Number 2, second way you can add value is to call out a problem. Right? So if they've got an issue, maybe, in the position that they're in, retirement might be an issue, or maybe, we have some vets here. Thank you for your service. And if they're a veteran and they're looking to create passive income streams, and it's a challenge, putting your money to work, it's calling out a very specific problem in the message and asking for their feedback on the problem, right? And an issue that they're likely having, more specific, the better. And the third thing we can do is we can ask a question, okay? Ask a question to test, what their familiarity is, maybe with passive investing or with apartment investing, or, creating passive income, or even what their openness is, right? And so your messages are going to be a combination, and you're going to take someone from not knowing who in the world you are to saying, hey, I'm open to finding out more, to booking the call, to ultimately investing in your deals, right? And this process that we're talking about, the cool thing is most of this can be automated, right? Like I talked about earlier. So that said, let's jump back into our presentation. And what I was saying earlier, and I'll remind you again, because this is where sometimes people get a little hot to trot, and they're like, hey, okay, I get it. Let me just bombard a bunch of people. Hey, it's a numbers game. Let me, play the numbers game. And I'm here to tell you, please don't, right? We want to really, a couple of things we talk about in our program. One is, fish in a barrel, right? So the more specific you are, the easier it gets, okay? And number 2, you want to give value all the time, right? It's value over volume, right? You can have a lot of volume. You can message up to 100 people a day, right? You can have a lot of volume. At the same time, it's value over volume. So that's really important. So whether you're reactivating your current network, or you're starting to make new contacts on LinkedIn, whatever the case may be, please, by all means, at all costs, avoid the vomit message. Don't vomit your stuff on people, right? Don't just, come out swinging out of the gate and bombard them, because that doesn't add value. It loses your credibility, and it's not going to create the result you're looking for. So let's not do that, okay? So once you've kind of put your messaging together, okay, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to delegate your developed system, right? So what you can do when you've got this dialed in, you can have an admin or a VA managing the system for you, where it pretty much runs on autopilot, and they're just managing the software, right? Because it's rinse and repeat. We are attracting new investors using this process each and every month. And I'll just share, a quick story from one of our clients, Dave. He had raised a little bit of money before, just like a lot of you. And he knew he needed to scale his capital raising, but he was trying to do a lot of stuff. He was kind of, throwing a bunch of paint at the wall online, right? He was posting content, he was going on podcasts, he was doing a lot of stuff. And as you can see here, kind of some of the success he's had through this automated system, and it's saving him a lot of time. He's been able to add hundreds of deal-ready investors, okay, in less than a year, through this type of approach. And one thing that he said is, it's very strategic, right? It's a little bit different for everyone. There's not a one size fits all, but we want to reverse engineer the results. We want to make sure it's strategic in building your investor list, okay? Final piece, enrolling investors. This is where you have those conversations. This is where those skills come in. For those of you who have already raised money, asking questions, understanding, what people are looking for, continuing that relationship building. Okay. So with that said, I want to talk about some next steps, very quickly share something with you, and then we'll jump into some Q&A here, right? So for those of you who are watching this, you're like, okay, I get this. The system makes sense. Seems like a great fit. What's next, right? How do I get this implemented? What's the quickest path to results, right? And this can be whether you're just getting started out raising money and you're going to need to build your investor list, or you've already raised a lot of money and you just want to expand your network of already investors. I'm going to share a resource for you. It's going to be a great next step for getting there. Okay, so here's what you'll receive as part of this bundle that I'm sharing with you. Okay, first thing you're going to receive is the Irresistible LinkedIn Profile On-Demand Workshop. Okay, this is an on-demand training where literally you're going to hear me walk you through step by step how to create a profile that's going to be irresistible to the investors you're looking for. And by the end of that workshop, you're going to be able to plug in that profile and have something that builds your credibility, increases your visibility, and adds to your authority online. So when potential investors look at your profile, it's going to be that much easier for them to want to know more. Okay. You're also going to receive unlimited access to the transcript and recording from that workshop. Okay. It's all going to be in your members area, and I'll give you the link. You'll have a chance to enroll here in a moment. You're also going to receive the newly updated Irresistible LinkedIn Profile template. So what that means is we've got a template that you can just literally plug and play based on your story, based on the types of investors you're looking for. And you can have this LinkedIn profile up, looking great, attracted to the potential investors you're looking for, literally within a couple hours on your own time, and have a model that once you set this up, once you've got a LinkedIn profile that's attractive to the investors you're looking for, you don't have to constantly tweak it. You don't have to worry about updating it ever again. Okay. And you're going to have that formula and that framework. Next thing that I'm going to give you as part of a bonus for being here tonight is our Attracting Investors on Autopilot Masterclass. Okay, this is another on-demand masterclass. This gives you an overview of the entire Rapid Investor Attraction system, right? This is the advanced system that we teach and that we use with our private clients. You're going to get a behind-the-scenes look exactly what that system is for scaling your capital raising and adding more of the investors you're looking for. Okay. And this next bonus is going to be guaranteed for the first 3 people who go ahead and enroll tonight. You're going to have a one-on-one strategy call with me. So once you have a chance to implement what's in this bundle, you and I will get together for a one-on-one call. We'll go over what you've implemented and we'll talk about your next best steps from here. Okay, and that's going to be a fast action bonus guaranteed only for the first 3 people who go ahead and enroll. Okay, so before we get into the investment real quick, before we jump into the Q&A, consider this. Really easy to go out there and spend a bunch of money on marketing, advertising, do a bunch of stuff online. Really easy to waste a bunch of time on this stuff as well. Okay. Versus right here, this retails, if you go online and go on our website, this package retails for $500, $497. For being here on this meetup right now, for being here tonight, you can get in for just $197. Shoot, that means you can get in for less than $200. Okay. And the link is going to be linkleads.us/old capital. That's linkleads.us/old capital. So what you're going to want to do to make sure you get the fast action bonus, for those of you who are here live, go to linkleads.us/old capital. Go ahead, fill out the form, enroll right now. You can get started on this as soon as today. That means you can have a LinkedIn profile. If you want it going into next week, it's irresistible to the investors you're looking for, and start to have a system dialed in for finding more investors using LinkedIn. So that's linkleads.us/old capital. And unlike all those other things that you see people spending money on when it comes to marketing, this program comes with a better than money back guarantee. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is. Here's the deal. If after 90 days of investing in this program, you're not absolutely blown away and don't see the possibilities for building your network of A-list investors from what you've implemented, just let me know and you'll receive a full refund plus a $25 gift card. Just want to make zero risk for you. Want to make this a no-brainer, something that's going to be a really easy investment for you. They're going to have a huge return for you. Okay, so once again, here's everything you're going to receive as part of this bundle. As a recap, first thing you're going to get is your Irresistible LinkedIn Profile On-Demand Workshop. This is a step-by-step workshop where I'm going to show you exactly how to optimize your profile so it's attractive to the ideal investors you're looking for. You're also going to have unlimited access to the transcript and recording from that workshop. You're going to have access to the A to Z newly updated LinkedIn profile template. It's going to be a plug-and-play template no matter where you are in your capital raising journey. You're going to be able to use that fill that in, and have a profile up within a matter of hours to attract the investors you're looking for. As the first bonus for investing in this bundle, you're also going to have access to our Attracting Investors on Autopilot Masterclass. It'll walk you through the entire automated system that we teach for finding high net worth investors beyond your current network. And for the first 3 people who go and enroll right now, you're going to also have a one-on-one strategy call with me. Okay, that's guaranteed only for the first 3 people, and all this for just $197. So I'll show you the page here in a second, but what you're going to do is you're going to go to linkleads.us/old capital. I'm going to show you this here in a second before we get into the Q&A. So just so you can kind of see on my screen. There we go. We'll go to present mode, and so it's super easy. Here's the URL. And then what you'll do, go to the page, you can just kind of scroll down, and there's going to be a big green button that says sign up now, and go here, fill out your information. And then once you fill out your information, once you've processed your payment, you can get started on this as soon as tonight. You'll automatically get an email to you. You'll have access to the full members area. So once again, the link to go to, it's linkleads.us/old capital. Make sure you do that right now so that you're part of the first 3 and you get that bonus strategy call. That's linkleads.us/old capital. All right. So with that said, I'm going to grab a sip of water. I'm going to hop on camera here, and we're going to jump into some Q&A.
Wow. Did you take a breath? That was freaking amazing. Wow. I'm speechless. Is there any questions? I put the link there. Actually, I didn't press send. So there you go.
Thank you.
I put that in. Thank you. There was one question. And does LinkedIn do automation directly, or should you use something like Active Campaign? That is a question by Kenneth Sumners.
It's a great question. So Kenneth, Active Campaign is for email automation. It's for, it's part of, when you go through the Attracting Investors on Autopilot workshop, we talk about where email automation kind of, blends with that. So that's completely different. Through LinkedIn, there's third-party softwares. So when you send an automated message through LinkedIn, when you do it right, let's say you're sending me an automated message, I don't know, I shouldn't know that it's coming from automation. There's no way for me to know, right? Versus through Active Campaign, it's a mass email, right? So yeah, I think that answers your question. It's a third-party software, right? Gotcha. So, and by the way, all it does, it's like its own CRM kind of within LinkedIn, right? So you queue up the messages, you set it, forget it, you can actually respond to people inside there as well. So it's really cool.
Cool, thanks.
Amazing. Yep. Any questions? Anybody else have questions?
So yeah, I have a question.
Okay,
yeah.
Kyle.
So I am one of those people who is employed by somebody else, and I don't want them to know about this real estate venture yet. You mentioned creating another profile. I assume it'd be under a different email. Would I include a picture of myself? I guess what are your kind of high level thoughts on creating that separate profile?
Yeah, there's a little trick you can use, right? So if you have to create a separate profile, or if you're like me and you don't have a middle name, then maybe this won't apply. But I mean, if you have a middle name, if your middle name was Kyle John, you could have a profile under Kyle John. Just put it under a different email address. They'll never know.
Okay, cool.
All right, Candace, what's your question?
I have one comment. For some reason, I can't get the link to work. And the other, even though it worked for you immediately on the thing, picture of yourself in LinkedIn. It's a little, I don't look like everyone else with the dreads and the shaved head. So what would you recommend for something like that?
Just got to be you. So picture, yeah, and have good lighting, personality. If people can see your eyes, that's really important. But just look like you. I wouldn't, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Like some people, for example, love riding horses. I'll just kind of use an obscure example. If that was your thing, I'd say if you got a great picture on a horse, you put that there because it's unique, it's different, right? So it doesn't have to necessarily be a headshot. Okay. So with that said, lighting's important. Personality is important, and having something to update is important too. So if someone connects with you on LinkedIn, they get on a Zoom call, and you don't look anything like in that picture, that creates some dissonance, obviously.
And my last little question would be, for the list, when you have like multiple businesses, what would be the maximum number that you would have listed on your one LinkedIn account?
30,000. You can have 30,000 contacts. That's the maximum number. I've only met one person who had that many contacts, and he regretted having that many contacts because he didn't do it intentionally. So most people don't even come close to running into that problem. But yeah, 30,000 contacts per profile.
Oh, not contacts, the number of businesses. I have multiple businesses. So do I list all of the same businesses under one profile?
You
business.
can. It depends. You've got to think about it from the investor's perspective. So if the businesses, add to your credibility, yes. If you've got 10 businesses and they're all, you've got a, I don't know, I'm just gonna, riff. Let's say you've got a company that, I'm just going to use an obscure example, sold adult diapers, for example, right? And maybe that wasn't something that you wanted potential investors to know. I wouldn't list that, but there's no limit on how many companies you can include, right? So it's just multiple companies and their experiences. You can create multiple business pages.
Bernardo, do you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. So I had a question similar to the last question I was asked in regards to the employer that you don't want to find out what you're doing. How do you go about it if you want to keep your profile and use that profile? Can you hide the employer to not see what you're posting, or is that pretty much kind of hard to do at that point?
You can't necessarily, well, I mean, you could technically block the employer, but I mean, it becomes a lot of work for not much upside. So a couple of different ways, right? You can, if you use direct messages, they don't know what's in your direct messages, right? They don't, unless you have an employer who's going to check your inbox for you. They're not going to know, right? So you can send all the messages you want. I just wouldn't, openly post about it if that was an issue.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, looks like we've got a question here that I saw earlier. I want to make sure we answer, and you guys are great about engaging here. Someone asked about a certain do it. Okay, yeah.
So do they have a do it for you service? That's Near.
Who asked that?
Near.
I did.
Near.
Yeah.
And cool. So the short answer, yes. Long answer, it's much more of a consulting, have all the automation set up for you, just like, turnkey. So I don't call it a do it for you service, but in a nutshell, yeah, it is. Best way to find out more about that, just kind of with where we're at, with where I'm at, is to take a look at the Irresistible Profile Workshop. Great investment. And then anything, if you want to upgrade in the future, that can be credited towards that, right? So that's kind of how we do that.
But I can get my active campaign guy to get the information and implement it for me then.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, it's on the tech side, if that's an issue. Yeah. For sure.
Jim Biggs has a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment also in regard to the people that have a W-2 job and that are afraid of their employer finding out. You can always create a company page that's dedicated to your real estate without putting your picture on it. And you also can create a group or get involved in groups. But to Yakov's point, direct messaging, no one sees but you and the messenger. And you could spend your entire career just doing that.
Thank you. Yeah, love it. All right. Any other questions? Who has signed up? Anybody?
So it looks like we've got a few. I'll shout out a few people. So it looks like David. David was actually first. So shout out to David Ballman.
Look at that.
So got a few more coming in. So it looks like we've got Jim signed up. So, leading by example. Very cool. Looks like we've got a few more here. And then looks like we've got Mayor, right? And I think I pronounced that right, Mayor, because I think that's an Israeli name.
That's right.
I think.
Yes, you did.
Yep. That should, yep.
Here.
And then, what's that?
So it's near. Shalom.
Yeah, so it was near. Awesome. So yeah, and so we'll make the one-on-one call bonus. We'll make that available for the next 3 people. I know Candace is getting her wallet. So the call bonus is going to be available for the next 3. And then the next thing is that offer, that page, there's a timer on the page that comes down Thursday at midnight. So make sure that I would sign up tonight just so you can get started right away. But if you're going to wait, make sure that you don't wait till past Thursday at midnight, because then it's just not going to be there.
Well, man, oh man, let's all jump on that. I want to see the fruits of your labor, everybody. I want to see a before and after picture, how it looked before and after you took this. This is fantastic. I'm very excited. And Yakov, thank you so much. Jennifer McCracken and I, we sat here talking about how to get more people to, engage on LinkedIn. So this was terrific. I'm real glad you're here.